to get warmed up with a few problems. Okay, let's start just on our regular whiteboard with this right here. Way too small. Hold on. All right, 8 times 5 is what? 40. A lot of you knew that, but you sat like this for a long time. Might still be sitting there like this because 8 times 7 plus 4 more is throwing you off. Guys, we're at the point we need to know. 8 times 7, 56. That's just what needs to. And so, again, if you're not having it come that quick, practice at home. Practice at home. Nobody can do this for you, okay? 56 plus 4 more would be 60. Then we're done with that 8 and we put a 0. 6 times 5 is 30. Put the 0, carry the 3. 6 times 7 is 42 plus 3 more, 45. All right, does your problem look like that before you add? Okay, it should. All right, so 5,100 is our answer. Okay. We had some review problems, several of us on Friday. Several of you got a lot of these that were like this correct. I think if you missed any, it was just little things. Maybe forgetting to add a number that you carried. Maybe not putting that 0, which is not really a little thing, but just be careful because by now we know how to do this. All right, what if we have a problem like this? Let's say it says When we had those review problems on Friday, rounding questions were the ones that were missed more than any other question. Okay. Several of us rounded correctly if we'd have been rounding to a different place. So we just weren't reading the directions. So make sure you know where you're rounding to. What digit is in the thousands place, Valerie? The 5. Find that place. You may be able to, you get to the point where you can just about do this in your head. And I know some of you are there. But a lot of us are not. Okay, you got to look next door and the 3 tells the 5 to stay or go up. What, everybody?
Stay.
To stay. You cannot leave this out. So we're going to bring down that, but this 5 is also going to stay. And everything from the arrow over, that's why I want you to draw that arrow so that you know from the arrow over turns into a what?
0.
Okay. That is only if we're rounding to the nearest thousand. Okay. What if, let's see, 75321. Let's keep that number. Oh. 7, 5, 3, 2, 1. We're going to round to the nearest 10,000th place. Okay, what would your answer be then? I'll give you a second. Again, find the place, draw the dot, draw the arrow, and decide if it goes up or stays. And write your new number. Don't forget to bring down the things that need to stay and change the things that need to change to zeros. Okay. What digit are we rounding to? Will, what digit? The 7 is in the 10,000th place. 5 tells the 7 to do what, Brandon?
Go up.
Go up. So that 7 turns into an 8, and everything else from the arrow over turns into a 0. Okay. That is if we're rounding to the 10,000th place. It's different depending on what you're rounding to. Okay. All right, one more type of question, trying to get a few different types of questions. Let's see how I want to word this. Okay. Clue. These are not pairs. I'm not asking for what is multiplied by anything. Okay? I'm not asking for pairs of numbers. Multiples are not in pairs. All right, what's our very first one, Caleb?
8.
What's our second one, Martin?
16.
Bailey, what's after 16? 24. What is next, Charlotte? What's next, Alice? 32. What's next? These are not pairs. There should be no arcs drawn. These are not numbers that work together. Okay, Reagan, what's next? 40. And what's the last one, everybody?
48.
48. Okay. Multiples. That's why we do that silly thing all the time. It's because we're trying to remember that we're skip counting. We're skip counting by eights. Yes. Okay. Factor pairs. Factors go together. Multiples do not. Okay. We could go on forever, couldn't we? With factors, we can't. With factors, if I'd have told you to list the factors, I would have just said, list the factors. I could have said of 8, or I could have said of 48. But that's where you're putting together the ones that multiply to make that number, and you're only going to have a set few. This could go on forever. Okay. All right. A reminder of what multiples are. Sometimes if we don't work with those very often, we just get them confused. Okay. All right, go ahead and clear all that off. I think we're going to need this pretty quick, so go ahead and get out your workbook. We're going to pull out the templates. There are actually 2 in there. I'm going to use one of them more than the other, but let's go ahead and get both. I think they'll both be helpful. These are for lesson 6. And it says template 1 and template 2 up at the top. Page 33 and page 35. One has the area models and one has number lines. Tear them both out and let's do this. Put one on one side of your page protector and put the other where you can see it on the other side. So that when you do this, you can see both of lesson 6 templates. Okay? So like this. I'll have the area models on one side, the number lines on the other. Okay, once you put them inside. Slide them in there, then you can put the workbook away for now. Page protector's getting pretty full, isn't it? Yep. Alright. We won't let it get so full that it explodes or anything. You're in module 6. These are module 7 pages. Get the looking for them back there. Put them back in the book. We'll undo them when we need them. Okay, there we go. I think everybody's got them. That's one thing I hate about them having two modules in one workbook, and why they start the page numbers over is just very confusing. So be careful about that. Make sure you are in module 6 for now when we're tearing things out. Good reminder for all of us. Okay, let me get to the slides. So we're starting out with this fraction that's pretty large, and I have two boxes. Turn your to the template page that has the area model. Now yours look different than mine. I know that on a different page that you have in here, you have those two kinds of boxes side by side, but I really thought let's stay with what you've got instead of trying to change anything, because this is going to help us remember one of our shortcuts. All right, so just right now, let's talk about it before we start using our marker. How could we show 1 and 2200ths on the area model? What would you do? If I asked you to show it using these two boxes, or the two boxes at the top of your template, how would you do that? Yeah.
On the tens one, you can shade in two boxes and cut one box into 10 and shade two little pieces of that box.
Okay, so you're saying how to show this part of it, but what about this part? We've got to show this whole thing. So keep that thought in mind. We're going to come back to that in just a second. How would you show this whole thing? You've got two boxes, two area models. How would you show all of this? Is it just because it's Monday? Y'all just know you just don't want to raise your hand. You don't want to look like you're too smart, so you're not raising your hand.
I'm not 1%.
I know you're awake. At least your eyes are open. So let's sit up, guys. Gotta get the brain oxygen to the brain. Okay? Yeah. What are you thinking?
I think you shaded all the 10 cents and you shaded
Two of these. Okay, wait, hold on. All of this. I think it would be easier if somebody's describing it. We just do it and then we'll talk about it. And then two of these. All right, that is what Mason said. Do we agree with that? Does that equal that? You're saying no, no. Why?
Because it's just showing 120, and you need two more of the 100 filling.
Okay, because we have 22. Okay, so how do I show that?
You put it into one of these places.
Two more itty bitty ones. When we start getting into those itty bitty ones, that's why I told you to kind of outline these, because if you don't, it gets kind of messy looking, hard to tell exactly what you've shaded in. So you're saying all of this, two of these columns, and then two itty bitty ones. Does anybody agree with that? All right, that is correct, because we do have to show every part of this. Guys, that's what we're doing today. Our markers are down right now. We're working on showing with the area model and with the number line a complete decimal number all the way to the hundreds place. So if you have a number like this, 1 in 22 hundredths, of course it's still just a fraction, isn't it? What would this look like as a decimal? 1 in 22 hundredths. How would you write that if you were asked to write it as a decimal? 1.22. Remember on Friday, I believe it was, we started going out to the hundredths place. That's how we read that. That's 22 hundredths, because those two digits get me out to the hundredths place. Remember where the hundredths place is. It's all the way right here. Okay. So we know as a fraction that says 1 in 22 hundredths. But it also says it That's how you say it as a decimal also. 1 and 22 hundredths or 1.22. 1.22. You could say it either way. Okay, now, you don't have the same type of boxes that I do. So at first I didn't like that, and then I thought, no, this is good because this gives y'all practice doing it that short way that we talked about. What would it look like? Now this is where it comes in what you said a minute ago. If all you have is a box that has tenths, let me draw another one right here. And if all I had was tenths, wait a minute. Okay. If I had tenths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, let's pretend that this one is not there. Now I have the same two boxes that you do. How do I show this same number? And we kind of did this a little bit last week, where we kind of took a shortcut to show a hundredth number. All right, what would I do? What do you think? Not at first. Yes, but not at first. We're not going to go, oh, let me draw all those lines. I could. It's going to take me a lot longer. It's going to be a lot messier. It's going to be harder to read, sort of, because it's not a printed template like you have. Okay? Well, how would you start? Shade in a whole box. Okay? All right, so do this with me, guys. We're going to shade in the whole first box, and this is this fast. Draw an outline around it. Boom. Done. Okay? Because I don't need to be talking while you're still coloring in. Okay? Brandon's already done. Gage, done. Ishmael, done. Okay? You need to be done too. Okay. What's the next step? Keep going. Okay. We need 2 columns over here because look. Hold on. Let's put this back. I need every eye looking right here. Every eye looking right here. We just colored in one complete box, right? There's our one hole. Now we move to the tenths place. This is really important because you've got to visit every place that has a hole that has a digit. I need 2 of the tenths. Each of these columns is a tenth, so we're going to shade in 2 of these completely. Just like that. Okay? Your markers, a lot of them are thick enough to just go or just outline it real quick and color it in. Okay? But look, hold on, I need your eyes again. I know I'm not done. Why? Because I have shown this, but I have not shown this yet. I've got to show everything. Go ahead and finish. Okay. I don't have hundredths, but I don't have to cut that whole thing. I'm just going to cut the very next strip into hundredths. So we're going to make 9 little dashes. And it's easier to see when you just have that one little strip cut. And how many of those need to be colored in? Just 2. Right here in the hundredths place, we have a 2. Okay. And now we've got 1 and 22 hundredths. Okay. All right. Let's try this again. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Right here. Okay. Go ahead and clear that off. But before you start shading in, I want you to write that number as a decimal. We have 1 and 38 hundredths. How do we write that as a decimal? Kennedy, what would I write? Can you pull that down so I can see your mouth? 1.38. 1.38. 1 and 38 hundredths. I'm saying the same number, I'm just saying it differently because you can say it differently. 1 and 38 hundredths, 1.38, 1.38. Okay, now I want you to try to show this on your top two boxes. Okay, let me give you a minute to try that without me showing you first. How would this look, Caleb?
You would shade in one whole box.
Okay, so I'm gonna draw. Well, let me do. Mine's gonna look backwards because I want to. All right, there's our one hole.
And then you would go over to another box
Mhm.
and you would shade 3 of them in, and then cut 1 into tenths and shade 8 of those.
All right, everything you said is correct except one little part. One hole, 3/10, 3/10, and then he said we would cut one into what? Tenths. But am I really cutting it into tenths? These are already cut into tenths. What am I when I do those little bit? What am I actually cutting it into? I'm actually cutting it into hundredths. And that's an easy thing to forget. All right, 1, 2, 3, 9. And you said how many of those?
8.
Okay. Well, you know what? I could sit there and go 1, 2, 3, all the way to 8, or I could just leave 2 empty. Because 8 and 2 make 10, and there's 10 of these. Okay. And that is our 1 and 38 hundredths, 1.38. Okay. All right. I think they give us one more for practice. Yeah, let's do this one more for practice. So let me get that out of the way. It's 1 and 60 hundredths. So let's do this. Make sure you cleared off the other ones we've done. This is just a little bit quicker, isn't it? Because that's 0. Okay. All right, Gage, what did you have?
I shaded in 1.
Okay, first, we're going to come back to that. I forgot to ask, how do we write this as a decimal? Jayla? 1.60? Am I hearing you right? Okay. 1.60, 1.60, 1 and 60 hundredths. All the same thing. I want you to keep hearing those different ways of saying it. Okay. Because you might come across it written that way or said that way in something else that you do, and I want you to realize they're the same thing. Okay, so what did you say, Shay?
I said shaded
One hole. Okay. I'm shading this one as my one hole just so that I have the same as you do when it comes to the next part. All right, so I have shaded the one hole part. All right, what comes next?
And then for the next box, you shaded 6.
Okay, so I know I'm going to 6/10. I'm going to come over here to my tenths and I'm going to outline 6 of them and shade them in. All right, I've got 4 left. I know 4 and 6 and 10. Okay, is that it? All right, anybody else have this? Sure, I mean that's correct. Okay, I want you to do something. Leave this. Don't erase this. Okay. I want you to go to the 2 boxes underneath this. Okay. And this is what I want you to, I just want to practice one more. So let's do, I'll leave this too. I'm going to come over here on the side. Okay. And let's go with something a little different. Let's do, I don't know. 1 and 6/10. Okay. 1 and 6/10. So go ahead and show that. Write it as a decimal and then show it on the next 2 boxes. You know you're going to need 2 boxes because it goes bigger than 1, doesn't it? Get this one filled in. So I can share what this looks like. What does this look like? Okay. You should be done at this point. How much have you got? Well, hold on before you. Okay, what does this look like as a decimal? Forgot that. It's just 1.6, isn't it? Okay. And what does it look like? Like, what'd you shade in? 1 hole. Okay. Got that? 6 of the column, 6 of the tenths. Got that? I'm real fast today. Okay. Anything else? Look at the 2 things that you have on your, they are the what? They are, the area models look exactly the same, don't they? Okay, so listen, and listen carefully here. This is one of those little quirky things that sometimes gets us confused or sometimes gets us tricked a little bit. 1.60 hundredths and 1.6 tenths is shown exactly the same. It's the same amount. Okay? I have 1 hole, I have 6/10, I have 0 hundredths. I have 1 hole, I have 6/10. You got any hundredths here? No. I have no hundredths here, I have no hundredths here. Then why bother with that 0? It's just showing you that these are equivalent to each other. I want to show you something else that's pretty neat. If you like math, this is kind of a neat way to also look at this. This is 1 and let me change that color. This is 1 60 hundredths, right? This is 1 6/10. Remember back in the day when we would say, hey, are these equal? And we do one of those methods. Okay. Well, there was a day where we had two mixed numbers, and no, it just makes me sick to my stomach when that happens. And so we're gonna pray that I just really want to send a thank you note. Thank you if you're out there listening in the virtual world. If you've created the undo button, good job. Okay. Me and my hair appreciate you so much. Okay.
Is this the first time you've ever
That, just don't ask about my hair. It's just a long story, long life, many years of trials and tribulations with my hair. Anyway, get back on track. Back a long time ago, there was a day where we were like, are these equal? Let's check and see. And we said, if they have the same whole number, just forget about that for a minute and look at the fraction piece. They've both gotten to one whole. Which one goes farther past one whole? The 60 hundredths or the 6/10ths? So I'm going to jump over to a blank space. 6/10ths or 60 hundredths? If you think 60/10ths is bigger, stand up. Wow. If you think 60 hundredths is bigger, stand up. Okay, so more people. Okay, I got you. All right, have a seat. Just kind of wanted to get a feeling before we figure this out. How can I get from? Let's see. No, which method do we want to do? What would be the easiest? Yeah. Change this one. Okay. I know I can get from 10 to 100. How? Multiplying by 10. All right, so that's going to be 6 times 10 is 10 times 10 is. Y'all quit being so loud when you answer these. Okay. Are y'all hearing that?
That's why I didn't stand up. Why did you stand up? I will stand up. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted you to see that. Okay. 6/10ths is the same as 61 hundredths. Not just because I'm telling you that, not just because the area model shows it, even though it did, but because the math also proves it. Okay. So something good to know. I don't know where I'm going, but there we go. All right, time to move on. All right, there's a lot of stuff written on this. I don't like it when they do that to us. It's just too much to look at. So let's go here. Okay, flip your template over. We're going into the world of number line. Favorite. Okay. Yeah, you can erase all of that on the area model side. Okay, now you are going to be thankful for that number line template. It just keeps you from having to draw this and cut it into 10 pieces every single time. Plus, when our marker is the one that made the number line, and then our marker is the one that cuts it into pieces, and then our same marker is the one that has to find, it's a lot to look at with that same marker and ink. So this helps it be a little more visible for you. Okay. So how in the world do we put a number like on our number line? Okay, and so that's what we're going to see right now. I'm going to put a number line up here. Give me just a second because right now you're a step ahead of me. I could use that one that's on the template. Should I? No, yes, I don't know. No, I'm going to draw one just super fast. All right, so we have 0, we have 1, and we have 2. Because is this number going to fit between 0 and 1? Okay, you're not writing anything at this point, okay? Is this going to fit between 0 and 1? No, because it's what? It's bigger than 1. It's bigger than 1. All right, I am going to need to cut this into 10 pieces. Okay, so what do you think we would do? You know this is going to go somewhere between 1 and 2 because it has a whole number of 1 and a little bit more. But where? How do we do this? Like, is there anything about this number that you know we would do for sure? Maybe you're not sure of everything, but you know maybe a little bit. Come on, pull it out of there. It's in there. What do you think? You want to guess something? No? This is new. Ain't that something's new? If we've done it a million times and we don't know the answer, then I'm a little more sad. But this is new. We can guess here. Yeah, go ahead.
2 like benchmark after the 1. That would be the 1. What? 20th?
Okay, what? And really, well, go ahead. Go ahead.
After the 1, there's 2 benchmark. The second benchmark would be 1.20.
When you say benchmark, are you talking about this whole number right here? What?
I'm talking about the spaces between them.
Okay, these are just spaces, yeah. Our benchmarks are just numbers that kind of guide us, so you don't have to worry about that. But so you're saying go to the second one? I don't know if I heard you right. Okay. All right, so she's going to go to the second one past 1. Why?
Because if we really keep it and we just need to make spaces to reach your answer.
Okay. Good thought. Same thought or something different? Okay. Okay. That's what I was hoping somebody would at least say that much, and you got us a little bit further. All right, let's turn all the way around, okay? So we know we're going at least to the whole number 1. So we're going to, kind of jump here. We know we don't have to worry with any of this. But then we've got 2/10, right? Okay, we've gone this far. We've got 2/10. So these are tenths. We know that. So we know we've gone at least this far because that's 1 and 2/10. But I think we are wise enough to also know that's not where we need to land because of this right here. What do we do about that? Yeah. I'm going to have to pull out my little precision tools here. Okay. And I'm going to turn them a different color just to make them be seen a little bit. That's a 10th, right? Y'all remember a second ago when we had the area model? It's on the very back of this. And when we had those columns, if it was a 10th, we colored it in. But if it was 100, we had to cut that thing into 10 pieces. Here we go.
All I see is blue and school.
Hold on. Will it let me enlarge? Alright. Blew it up a little bit. We got to 1. We went over 2/10, and now we've got to count over because our number is 1.22. We went to the 1. We went over 2/10, and now we need to jump over 2 of those itty bitty things that look like grass growing. Okay, so 1, 2. Now if I shrunk that back down, let's see if it'll even show up.
This looks like a big green blob.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Okay. But right here, so this is what you're going to see sometimes on the number line. The number line is a little harder to make it seen. Sometimes it will say, estimate where you think this number is. And so you would go to the 1. You would go over 2/10 because you can see that much. And then you would just scoot over just the tiniest bit. You know, if it was 1.25, I would go to the middle of those two little. If it was 1.29, I would move my dot over just very close to the next tenth, just not quite touching it. Okay? Because sometimes I have to just imagine those itty bitty lines there because it's too small to draw them. We're getting into microscopic little pieces almost. Okay? They're just tiny sometimes, depending on how big your area model or number line is and all that. You know, when I blow it up real big, much easier to see. Remember a long time ago when we started decimals and there was the workbook page with the little ladybug on it?
Yeah.
And they were asking you where it was on the ruler or something like that, or how much further it needed to go. Do you remember that it was blown up with a magnifying glass? And a lot of that, it wasn't so much for the ladybug. I mean, ladybugs are small, but we still could have seen it. It was mainly done that way so you could see the little bitty, itty, tiny marks on the ruler because they're so close together. Okay. So this is what we're going to practice for just a few minutes. Let's go back to here. Okay. So it says to show 3 46/100 on a number line. Okay. So go to your top number line. We're going to do this one together. They have a number line ready for me. But let me have you get this number line ready. You're going to start with 2. And then put 3 and 4 because we'll use those. If you want to put 5 on there too, that's fine. Okay. Those are the whole numbers that we're going to be between right here. How did you know that? Because you need the first whole number that you see, and you need at least one more past it for that little piece that's left over, that fraction or decimal piece. All right, let's first write 3 46/100 as a decimal. So, Brandon, what's that going to look like as a decimal? 3 46/100. What's it going to look like as a decimal? What do you think? It's right here. 3 46/100. It would be 3.
And
0.46. Okay, 3.46. All right, here we go. 3.46. What do I need to do first on my number line? Where do I need to go first? Faith, where would you go first? This is the number we're trying to. Well, let's go to the 3 first. We are going to go past it, but let's make sure we go there first. Go to 3. And then how far past the 3? Ishmael, how far past the 3? Okay, we're going to go past here. We're going to go to the 4. To the this 4?
No.
Y'all look, don't get confused. Not this 4. We're going to go 4/10 past it. But don't put your dot there. No, we've got to go how much past that? 6/100. Okay, hold on. All right, guys, there's no way with the size of your marker that you can draw 10 pieces between and it be seen. So let's do this. We're going to do that estimating thing. And even this is going to be hard to be seen. If I have 6/100, is that closer to the beginning of 4/10? You know, is it closer to 4/10 or is it closer to 5/10? Or closer to the middle? Faith, what do you think? It is. So, we're not going to put our dot over by the 5/10 or the 4/10. We're going to put it right in the middle. And again, it's going to be hard, isn't it? Just do the best you can. I wish. How many of you right now wish you had a pencil and this on regular paper? It'd be a lot easier to show it. Yeah, definitely. Okay. That's why you might see the word estimate, because we just kind of had to, this is close to, the 6 gets us close to the middle of 4/10 and 5/10. All right, let's try another couple of these before we move to our problem set. That is not a new one. That is a new one. All right, this time I've already got it written as a decimal, so we don't have to change it. 3.70. What is nice or easier about this one? Look at the number, 3.70. What do you think?
That there's no 100.
There's no hundreds. We can land right on a tenth and we know exactly where we need to be. Okay, so Martin, how would you start this? 3.70, how would you start this? Go to the 3. And I'm sorry, I didn't give you a chance to, I guess you still, if you didn't erase your whole numbers, great. If you did, then put it back real quick. Go to the 3, and then what are we going to do past the 3? Isabel, how many past the 3 are we going to go? 7. 7/10. So we get to stay right on those little tick lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right here is where we're going to land. Okay. All right. So this isn't super tough. It's just knowing how it works. All right. Let me give us one more. I'm going to erase that. I want you to ignore this right here. Let's put 4 and 22 hundredths. All right, what is that going to look like as a decimal? Ishmael, what would that look like? 4.22. Okay. I want you to put that on your number line. Where would that go? It's hard to put on there. Just do the best you can. Right, Charlotte, how would I do this? Where would it go?
You would go to the 4.
Okay.
And you would go over 2 spaces.
I would go to the 4. I would go over 2 tenths. And then what? I think we all know how to do that much. What would we do after that? Because you've shown me how to take care of that and that. What about that extra 2?
Cut it into
Well, let her finish. Do you know? I mean, could I cut it into hundredths? Yeah, but it's just hard to do, isn't it? What would you do? Okay. You could cut it in hundredths, but even if, guys, if you did that with your marker, you wouldn't be able to tell. You could scoot over just a tiny, tiny bit. It's not really in the middle. It's just 2 little hundredths over. Okay? So when our number line is so small, and especially when our markers are big, but even if we were working with a pencil, scoot over just a little bit to show that you are a little bit past that 2 tenths. Okay? All right. go to here and clear that off. And clear that off. All right, I want you to clear off this number line template. I'm pretty sure we're done with it. Yeah. Just put your regular whiteboard back in front of you just for a second. We're almost done, but I just want to let's practice this just for a little bit. I want you to write the number 3 8/10. Actually, you would see it written as 3 1s, 8/10. Now I'm writing it in unit form. Okay. So if you saw it written like that, what would you write? What did you write? Now we're writing in decimal form right now. I'm sorry I didn't make that clear. So if you wrote yours as a fraction, let's change that. Okay, we are just in decimal form right now. What does it look like, Ishmael?
3.8.
Okay. This looks like 3.8. Okay. All right. What if I asked you to write 3 1s and 8/100? In decimal form. Three ones. That means you just know 3 is in the ones place. And 8/100. Will, what have you got?
3.08.
Now, put your marker down. Don't erase anything. Put your marker down. Okay. Some of you had this right here. Okay? Okay, listen to me. If we're talking hundredths, that's 3 80/100, not 8/100. Okay? That is where that 0 makes a difference. This is 8/100. This is 80/100. You see the difference? Okay. If it's just 8/100, you're going to have a 0 here because there's no tenths. Okay. This is also 3 8/10. But if we asked how many that was, if I had 8/10, picture this. If I had 8/10 colored in on the area model, if I took my little lines on every one of those and turned every one of those 8 columns into 10, I'd have 80, wouldn't I? So 8/10 is the same as 80/100. But if I only have 8/100, if I only have 8 of those itty bitty boxes, that's what it's going to look like. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's try one more practice. Just erase your board. So let's go with 2 1s and 4/10. What does that look like in decimal form? No, don't write the words. I want you to only write it in decimal form. I don't have time to look for you to write the words. does it look like, Brandon?
2.4.
2.4. Okay, if you have 2 ones and 4 hundredths, what does that look like? Okay, what does that look like? 2.04. Alright, what do both of these look like as fractions? What does 2 and 4/10 look like as a fraction? Write that out beside it. And what does 2 and 4 hundredths look like as a fraction? Write that out beside it. Pretty much write what you hear. 2 and 4/10, 2 and 4 hundredths. So Mason, what does 2 and 4/10 look like? Did you say over 10? Okay. Alex, what does this one look like? Okay. 4 over 100? Okay. I think you are asked to write decimal and fraction form a couple times at least today on your problem set. Okay. Your exit ticket, we are going to try to get to that today because we've had to jump over several of them just because they've been a little different than how we've worked on it in class. It's a little longer. Problems are not difficult, it's just a little longer, so we're going to try to get to that today too. Go ahead and put your template whiteboard back into your binder and your other whiteboard away. Go ahead and do that. We'll take our quick break. Maybe by the time we do it. fourth grade hall. In the boys' bathroom, one of the paper towel dispensers is completely open and all messed up somehow.
I will get somebody down there.
Okay, thanks. Alright, go ahead and get your workbooks out. This is lesson 6, so go ahead and turn in there and we'll check the file for Okay, you should be on page 31, and it should look like what we've been doing. It should also say 4.6 at the top. 4 means 4th grade, 6 means module 6. So if you ever see 4.7, you're not in the right section of the book. Okay. This is page 31. Alright, we are going to do all of these today, because when you really start looking at it, these are quick and simple, and please turn there so you know what I'm talking about. Page 31. Alright, this is the time for questions about what we're doing. I want you to look at these on this first section. Guys, they give you this is just like it's a little different form. It's just like what we were been doing. They give us a fraction. You write it as a decimal. Remember earlier we had a fraction. We wrote it as a decimal, and then we shaded in the boxes. Okay, but then they also just want you to try to put it on the number line. So you're doing both things with it. You're shading the area model. You're also putting it on the number line. Okay, question about that? Yep. Alright, then back up to 29. Okay. I didn't catch that. I just knew it looked like that. So, thank you. It's the same. You're doing the same exact type problem. Okay. Questions about what you're doing. Alright, so you're going to do that for number 1 and number 2, or letter A and letter B under number 1. And then when you get down to number 2 at the bottom, estimate to locate the points on the number line. You see that? Okay, they give you a fraction. Write it as a decimal. It'll be easier to see. Write it as a decimal and then estimate where it goes. That's what we did together. We kind of, okay, it's going to be a little bit farther over. You know, we estimate. It's going to be easier with your pencil. But still, you're going to estimate. You're going to put it about where it goes so that you don't have to draw all those little itty-bitty 100 lines. 100 lines. Okay? 100. Yeah. Okay. Question about that part. So there's only 2 of those.
Can you circle both?
What do you mean by both?
Like A and B on number 2.
Well, you don't have to circle anything today because we're going to do it all. Okay. All right, turn to the back. All right. They give you unit form. You're going to write the decimal and the fraction of each of those. That was quick. All of this is quick, by itself. It's just little things that you're doing today. They give you unit form. You're doing what we just did on our board, and you're writing the decimal and the fraction. Okay? And then at the bottom, you're matching up. Is this the one look at the matching. We always think of matching as super simple. But look at the matching. There's more in the middle than there are on the sides. Okay. I want to say it's this. There's always, every year, one matching thing we do that throws us off. And this may be it. Simply because
The 73.
there's more things here than there are on the sides. So, there might be something that has more than one thing to match it with.
And it might be something that don't
You know. Alright, so sometimes they try to take something, simple as matching and kind of challenge you a little bit to think about it. So just look carefully at it. Okay? Alright, I'm going to let you get started and get as far as you can. Okay, we'll see where we are when this timer goes off. I may give us a few more minutes if we need it. If you have a question, let me know.